Alright, so I'm doing this video about two art pieces that I did in 2015, say December 2015 to early 2016. And I call these pieces the Bookends of Blood because, you know, it was such a weird time for me because, well, man, maybe I should or shouldn't be admitting to this, but yeah, I was, I got on Amazon one day, right, and, you know, I was looking up things for, like, you know, legal prescription drugs, right? Well, I did this on like a legally prescribed type DMT, and what I did was I kind of flopped the pieces afterwards when I showed these off in a gallery in Topeka, Kansas, right? And well, I'm gonna try to get in on this. So yeah, and what this is you know, it's based off of, you know, blood. It's that's what it's called. It's called the Bookends of Blood. And so apparently I did this one first. I drew this one first. I thought I did a second. Then I did this one, and I call it XIBALBA Unleashed. Now, you know, I'm gonna put some audio on this video, or I kind of explain it a little better, but I want this in the video because you know, got these framed a long time ago from guy I'm just gonna call Mr. Black. Okay, Mr. Black framed these for pretty good price. So you know, with the CONAN art, you know, in the beginnings, you know, all I had was like a $20 budget, 30 bucks at the most, when I was doing, you know, Flaming Sea. And I like these pieces because, you know, it was complete opposite of Flaming Sea, completely opposite. But this is about the time I did the psychedelic CONAN art, around, I don't know, late 2015 to early 2016. So yeah, that's a cool piece. Yeah, I'm gonna show the art where it's like I sketched it and it didn't quite come out the way I wanted to at first. So it took some tweaking, right? So you see these three medical doctors, right? But these doctors are like a hallucination of real doctors when you're on the real prescription drugs, right? So then I drew this blood cartoony thing. He's got like one eye, right, and about 3 fingers and 1 thumb on each side. Well, I kind of based that off of, like, you know, 1960s type stuff that you would see. Yeah, and I'm gonna say when I did these art pieces, both of them. So, thesis of an indeterminate disease. Thesis of indeterminate disease. Took me about 2 weeks to do all of that. So, took me 1 entire week to do the color on that. 600 DPI, right? You know, that you know, the post-impressionist style. So I was going for a post-impressionist thing too, but tossed in a lot of elements. Like, as you can see here, there's some cubism in there, like a Picasso element. Yeah, I tossed that in there too. So yeah, it's meant to look like that. Cardboard boxes. You know, you see a cross on there, right? Then the eyeball. Yeah, it's meant to look like something you would see in like Juxtapose magazine. And I like drawing the thing there. You know, but not the stethoscope. What do you call those? Yeah, that thing, that sort of thing. I don't know. I did this art piece, and of course back then there was no blood contagions, much less COVID contagions, and I guess it kind of looks a little, somewhat like a COVID molecule, but not exactly. It's more based off of just blood. Yeah, that's what I was wanting to say. The telescope. For some reason, I was stuck on that telescope for a couple of days. But you know, zoom in here. Yeah, what I was going for was, you know, something that looked like, you know, a goofy kid's illustration. You see these medical doctors here. They're being hallucinated because, well, I was taking that pill, and I was on all sorts of pills. Yeah, I don't know if I should be admitting that out loud, but you know, so there's a certain element of graininess to it, right? You know, so you're thinking like 1960s. So yeah, it looks 1970s too, because that's about the time color television sets were becoming a thing, and so that's probably Japanese for like blood or disease. Zoom in on that. Yeah. So thesis of indeterminate disease. That's what I called it. I called it that because, you know, you can go into a doctor, right, and get misdiagnosis or, you know, mistreated for something you didn't have, so they gave you the wrong pill. Well, I've had that happen to me. Story of my life, really. So that's what it is, and you know, medical professionals. You know, not necessarily a parody of that. You know, it's kind of a quirkiness quality to that, I guess. But yeah, I guess you could read into that however you like. I had this one lady. She was part of my treatment plans, right? And I'm just gonna call her the hamburger helper lady. Well, she hated this art piece. She really loathed it. She's like, "Oh, I don't like that art piece. It just, it gets to me. It offends me." And it's like, but you know, her being like a personal quack, I don't see her anymore. So she's probably never gonna see this video. But yeah, that's what it is. It's and I'm just shining a hand flashlight on it. Get on the details. So yeah, yeah. So it's the eyeball. I drew that last, if I remember right. The first thing I did was the telescope. You know, old school kind of 1970s-ish. You know, kids type telescope. Yeah, that's cool. And, you know, you get in on that, and there's like little details, right? That, you know, that piece took me a good 2 weeks. So say 2.5 weeks. I'm kind of vague on the, you know, the memories of the time frame of it. But yeah, I love drawing the teeth, the teeth of that second hallucination doctor, right? Get on that. Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty meticulous. That's kind of my nod to Richard Corbin, because you know Richard Corbin drew Richard Corbin. He made teeth like that in comic books, and so we get on him again. You know, so it's kind of like a freak kind of blood cell type thing. You know, and I did this long before there was, you know, pandemics or COVID or whatever. And yeah, it's cartoony. But what that's supposed to be behind him is, you know, this. It's that. So it's like that little glass that you would put on a telescope, right? And you zoom out. So it's kind of a Robert Williams kind of thing, where it's like I just kind of put it in there, toss it in there. The most meticulous part was the coloring, of course. Yes, that's pretty much it. Shine a light on there. Thesis of no, the thesis of indeterminate disease. That's what I call it. So then I did the follow-up art piece. I call this one XIBALBA Unleashed. So I'm gonna shine a hand flashlight on that. So we're getting on the details, right? So you see this guy. He's kind of a slave worker. He's bulky, and he got this heavy stone type thing, like the Mayan calendar. You know when you look at the Mayan calendar, you know when I see that, I think it was like CERN portals or CERN demons. So yeah, we'll kind of zoom in on some of that. Yeah, so that's how I drew him. It took a few times for me to get that right. So you know, yeah, like little codes there, little Aztec Mayan type codes. And I forgot what that said. You know, so I did the feet, right? The feet. Zoom in on that. Yeah, I mean, and you go back, zoom out a little bit. Okay, so that's Quetzalcoatl. I want to get that name right. Quetzalcoatl. So he's kind of like a serpent type demigod, submerged demi-lord, whatever, and he's like just puking the victims, right? He's just puking them out. And there's my name, mickmoart 2016. But that's how I kind of went about it. Kind of like, you know, like a Mayan serpentine. So it's got the lightness and the dark, you know. Again, I was, see if I can get on that. Again, I was experimenting a lot with colors, multiple colors, and yeah, so, you know, like I said, I was on a DMT supplement, and so these art pieces were coming out of me and my psyche, and the layers of metaphysics, metaphysicality. Is that even a word? I don't know. But yeah, I sent that to. I sent one of these to Derek Riggs, the Iron Maiden cover artist guy. He loves this art piece. Apparently, he said, "Yeah, it's a striking use of color." Well, that's what I was going for. I just sent him this one. I didn't send him Thesis, but I sent him this one. And I like this art piece. It's been hanging up on my wall a long time. I tried to get these framed on a budget way back when. The guy that framed these, he's retired now. Mr. Black is his name. And yeah, I mean, so you're probably gonna have to pause the video, but this is like the raw video side of this. So and we'll zoom on out of that, right? And then and that's what I told the gallery. I said, okay, if you're gonna hang these things up, then you can hang them up in either order. That's what's cool. My initial goal, really, doing artwork since I was 3 years old, the mickmoart art book. So whenever I get around to that, yeah, I'm a great publisher for the mickmoart art book, and one of these days it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen in my lifetime. It's been it's been an initial goal of mine to do this art book for a very long time. A fine art book, because with comic books, I just feel like there's too many restrictions on, regular comic books, mainstream comic books. And the thing is, it's like, who else sees these pieces but, certain people that they get on my DeviantArt and they see them and they think, oh, that's a great art piece. But yeah, any sort of coloring that I did on this, it's all me. It's all me, folks. Yeah. So we go up on that, and then we go down to that. Go down to that. Zoom in on that. See if I can shine the light a little better. Yeah, but see, that's what's cool about the art that I do. What I can do in the art is, I said, well, I get to this thing where it's like, and I loved working on the Conan art pieces. Of course I did. Because that got my art to a larger audience. But with this kind of stuff, I made it, more underground again. But I tossed in that mainstream kind of Conan O'Brien color-esque thing. But it's still my coloring techniques, still my art techniques. Like I said in maybe a previous art video, I said I'm a stickler for compositions. I'm a stickler. So I usually do these, I had to clip out paper on my own, 8.5 by 11, right? So you fit it on the scanner. So I'm pretty sure I made these 600 DPI because 600 DPI shows up great on, because it shows the little details a lot more. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And when I got these things framed, Mr. Black was all like, how do you want these framed? And I said, well, I'm on a budget. I'm on a budget. I'm doing this for an art show a state away from me. And that's pretty much it. I mean, so between these two, took me a month, roughly. It sounds about right. If I'm doing it black and white, of course it's faster to do the black and white. But when you scan these things in, it takes longer to do. And I don't know, one of these pieces, it might have been this one where I had I got part of the way done, and I had a computer crash, right? And I was like, oh shit, not again. But see, that happened to me with the Conan stuff too. So there was like one or two art pieces, especially in the beginning, where you're doing all this work, and thing just kind of crashes on you, right? So you're like, shit, I got to go through it again. But if I remember right, I think I saved it up till maybe the telescope and the three demented doctor guys, right? But this one I didn't have. I don't think I had any computer crashes on it. On XIBALBA Unleashed. Yeah, I mean, but I put such radiant kind of colors in my stuff anyway. But the one thing that I made sure to do in both of these art pieces was had to have striking red, blood red through both of them. So blood red there, and then blood red there. So that's the tie-in. So that's the past blood letting or whatever, and this would be like current day bloodletting, or and that's what ties them in, and that's it. That's all I did. So I forgot what the Japanese said on that. So it's like disease, or blood. That's probably the one that says blood. Zoom in there. Yeah. So that I just don't love compositions. I kind of like to put like little codes in there too. But when people look at this stuff, it is pretty meticulous when you look at it. And I got to a point where it was like, yeah, I put these pieces away for a while, right? Had to put them away for a while, but eventually I was getting caught up in series of things of my life, and I went back to these pieces again, even today. Yeah, it's art is all a process. Real art is a process, and you explain it to people, and they see it because it's a glimpse, but you have to slow down your life, or you have to stop it completely to do these two-dimensional pieces. But I've always done that in my art, where I brought up sculptural references. So hopefully you can see that in these art pieces. So yeah, both of them. Yeah, I took a few sculpture classes, so that element of it comes out in my art every single time. I try to bring that out, even in a 2D art project type thing. Yeah. So that's what it is. And this is the bookends of blood. Bookends of blood. And that's it. that's my video. So I'm gonna get another section of this video where it's like, you know, I just show them as still art pieces, like I did before in another video. And yeah, I like the matting on it. You know, I was going for that. You know, unused frames. So those are wooden frames basically on those. Yeah. Uh, yes. Well, that's my video. So yeah. Hope you like that section of my art video. The makings of the Bookends of Blood. Bookends of Blood. The making of. That's pretty much it. That's it. Okay, this is for my Bookends of Blood video. I was trying to look around my place and seeing if I could find the original sketch to either XIBALBA Unleashed or the thesis of indeterminate disease. So I think I found this in my art book that I draw upon, and that's the original sketch. When I was trying to map everything out in the compositions, right? So as you can see, right there, I didn't put the cartoony blood character guy thing with the one eye, the Cyclops blood thing. Yeah, but that's what I made sure to put in there. So it's basically two elements. So you know, so if you're looking at this thing, like say either online or in a gallery somewhere, the focal point is that it's the telescope. Yeah, that's what I was going for. So you get on that, and I apparently sketched something where it was like a rectangle because it's an ode to that, which is, you know, that glass thing that you put the blood or the sample on, right? And that's all it is. I don't know. It probably took me about 2 days to do this, but it was all kind of simultaneous, like, and that's it. I mean, that's really about it. Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna maybe put the raw sketches of my stuff in, you know, the mickmoart art book. Yeah, it's been a dream of mine to even think of that. Well, you know, in this era, September 2021, I've really been thinking about, you know, the constructions of this art book, and it's got to see the light of day. But of course, I need to do it right. I'm probably going to need a lawyer representation. I'm going to need a copy editor. I'm going to need a real for real publisher, real caring and understanding publisher that publishes art books, real art books, because I'm kind of obsessed with art books anyway. You know, people think, oh well, Mickmo loves comic books. Yeah, I like comic books. Don't get me wrong, folks, but you know, my favorite when I was doing the comics for, I say professionally, for 10 years, Radio Comics. Why? Because Radio Comics let me do anything, you know. They let me put in the nudity, they let me put in all sorts of cuss words, right? But, you know, but I'm also kind of obsessed with like you know, other stuff like Robert Crumb type comics, you know, real underground pulpy stuff. So yeah, Harvey P. Carr, American Splendor type stuff, and so I definitely was not going for superheroes at all at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's been my dream all along. No matter if I'm alive or dead, you know, post-mortem comic books. That's been my dream all along. You know, this art book, this fine art book that I want to do. This art book. You know, fine arts art book. That's where my backgrounds in art come from anyway. You know, when I was a little kid, I got in trouble for looking at an art book with nudes in it and forcibly pulled the art book away from it. Well, it was a Renaissance art book, and I look back upon that now, and I went to such an indoctrinated grade school. And, you know, my mother was like, well, why did you have the art book in there if you didn't want anybody to look at it? It was strange. I think I was like in 3rd grade when that happened to me. But, you know, nudes in art were never a big deal to me. I mean, you know, everybody's so PC now, and, you know, it's crazy. I mean, but, you know, I'd go say like the Nelson Art Gallery in Kansas City, and yeah, it wasn't a big deal to me seeing nudes on a wall, you know. And I was just a little kid when I saw, you know, and it intrigued me. It fascinated me, you know, rather than having, say, like 200 years of, you know, people saying, well, you shouldn't look at artful nudes online. And it never bothered me. It never even crossed my mind at the time. I was like, you know, true art is true art. No matter where, if you toss the nudity in it or you don't toss the nudity. Yeah, yeah. So I got off on a feel there. we get in on this. Yeah, yeah. That's all it was. So if I drew the thesis of indeterminate disease that way, I made that more cubist later on. You know, like a Picasso, or yeah. You know, more of that element. But when I'm sketching these things at first, I just go kind of hog wild, and then I get the better paper, and I clip the paper to 8.5 by 11. So it's usually like either like a glossy Strathmore or a rough Strathmore. I think it was more of a rough paper, if I remember right, but so I can't remember that. But what I do remember is, you know, composition. I had to go for the composition. This is the way it starts out before I ever color it. But, you know, you start out kind of simple, and then you work your ways into the complexity. So whenever I sketch these things, really loose. I sketch them really loose at first, and sometimes I just don't think about it. And sometimes I think, oh, well, I could never draw a perfect circle. So that circle's definitely not perfect. But I've never been able to draw a perfect circle, believe it or not. I've never completely been able to draw a straight line freehand, but you know, I just kind of ad-lib the stuff as I go along, and then I go into it and I just refine it, and that's how the Mickmo art technique has always been for me. It's always been that way, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's another part of this video. So hope you like this video. Upvote it, please. There it is. Alright, I'm going to record this. So the date on this that I am recording is 9/27/2021, or September 27th, 2021. So we're just going to say latter September, right? I wanted to go more into the depths of, you know, the pieces themselves, you know, the creativity and you know, the approach that I took with these pieces. So I'm starting on XIBALBA Unleashed. Well, really, you know, these art pieces are interchangeable, and it's meant to be that way. But what carries throughout is, you know, the red, the blood red, and so you see this guy, and he's all hunched over. He's very muscular. He's you know, I approached it in such a way to where it was like, you know, in the Mayan calendar that he's got. Okay, that's supposed to be like weight, like he's carrying a heavy burden, and subliminally I put in that Mayan, the Mayan calendar, I put 6/17/73, and you could kind of see that, you know, but that's my birthday. That's when I was born in Kansas City, you know, kind of on the nexus of Missouri and Kansas, and I really believe I was going through some vibrant colors here. I just wanted the colors just to pop and pop. Yeah, so you're seeing like deities floating above the head of you know, the little demi god sort of thing. That's Quetzalcoatl, you know. And I was going for that, like a snake god, you know, and he's puking and he's regurgitating the victims, but I drew it in such a way to where it was like cartoony, right? I don't know, I was kind of going for like a juxtapose thing with on all of this, you know. And I look at it now. So I did this piece. Let's say January 2016. It's you know, and it's supposed to be vibrant like that, and you know. But the first one I worked on was Thesis of Indeterminate Disease, and yeah, I took them to an art show in Topeka, and I showed them off, and I believe I sold quite a few of these prints of the Bookends of Blood. This one especially, you know, XIBALBA Unleashed. You know, I was trying to do research, and you know, there was a Barnes and Noble about a city away from me, but they shut down. I was really bummed when they shut down, because I was like, you know, you could find like cheap stuff up there, cheap books, and I kind of got fascinated by this one book about, you know, Mayans, the Mayan calendar counts, right? And you know, deities, and that's what's cool about this art piece. I believe I made it the right kind of dark. There's not too much dark in this. It's well, it's a lot of lines and shit. You know, and I enjoyed this. I enjoyed working on this art piece. You know, it's you know, succumbing to the weights of, you know, just life in general. Just but I also call this like the precursor, Bookends of Blood. Like it's meant to be that way. You know, but it's got a the colors had to sing for me. They had to literally sing for me, and I was going through the notions of, okay, how do I approach this? How do I not approach this? And I think I did a pretty damn good job on it. You know, and that's the thing about my art. It's gotta be a certain way. It's gotta be a certain way, composition-wise. I've said this in previous videos. You know, this thing had to be it had to look a certain way, and it was like, well, you copy these things on 8.5 by 11. I think I printed this on glossy or cardstock or whatever, and it turned out really well. So not only do you have the male parts in this, but you also have the female parts, you know, floating above Quetzalcoatl, and they're ghost-like. And I just thought that was really cool. You know, some of it's really experimental now that I look at this piece again, but hopefully it's got the classic mickmoart art elements in this. Well, I was kind of going for a departure thing with, you know, because I was working with comic books for a while, but I don't know. I just felt like comic books are just way too restrictive for me. They only let you do certain things, and they, you know, they want a certain subject matter. But, you know, with my own personal stuff, that's what I was going for. I know I was, and I just wanted it to pop, you know. So if there's any comic book influences in this, I'm just gonna have to say Antarctic Press, because I was with them for a while, a couple of years, probably about half a decade. I was with Antarctic Press, and really I was kind of going for an abstract quality to this. So yeah, when I scan these in, it takes me several days to you know, put it all together in a Photoshop format. So 600 DPI, I have no doubts about that. You know, it's got the coding, the cryptic coding. Maybe it's got something to do with CERN portals. You know, really, you know, evil demonic, you know, CERN portals, and that's what you get from the man, the strong man, I should say he is, strong red man. Yeah, that's cool. It took me a little while to figure that composition out, and but once I got rolling on it, once everything came together, and it just all came together. It's just, you know, I was going for a sense of vibrancy, and you know
there's a lot of design elements in here, and I dig that. I dig that. It's pretty cool, but you know, it's got things related to like galaxies, and constellations, and underthrow gods in the Mayan aspect of things. I think it looks pretty cool, you know. But revisiting this again, you know, it's just a cool art piece. And you know, the Bookends of Blood series is really cool for me because you can interchange the art pieces. That's what I meant for it. Uh, well, I was one night I was just envisioning. I was like, how about the Mickmo art book? You know, that would be a dream come true for me in my lifetime, one's lifetime. You know, to show people that I've done all of these art pieces, and well, really, I was thinking about, you know, a hardbound art book, and I want to do it right, of course. The Mickmo art book, and so it had to get the right distribution. You know, it had to get the right publishing, right, and yeah, really, it's kind of been a dream of mine to do a fine arts book or a series of arts books. You know, you take away the restrictions of, you know, what you can present in the comics world. But I was doing this more on the gallery side, right? And I took it up to Topeka, Kansas. You know, back when my car was running a little better, and that was it. I mean, you know, so I got these things framed by Mr. Black, and what I did was when I presented these things, I think I made them what, $20, 25 a piece, something like that. You know, I wanted people to have this affordable art of mine. You know, something they can hang up somewhere, and I don't know where those art pieces with my branding, my name. I don't know what happened to them. They're probably in a back storage room somewhere. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. You know. But yeah, it's this is it, and so I'm starting on this XIBALBA Unleashed, and then I'm gonna do the thesis piece, and I'm gonna show it the same way I showed, you know, still art in other pieces, you know, in a video. That's right. And that's all it is. It's a pretty cool art piece. I put tinges of purple in there, you know, like around the weight bearer's feet, and you know, his legs, and you know, so made sure to put that in the compositions, and you know, this is a cool art piece, man. But you know, this is my interpretation. You know, somebody might be looking at this thing right now, and they say, "Wow, that's deep." Well, it's like I said, I did these art pieces when I was on I say a fish oil, but actually it was a DMT supplement, and these things just flowed out for me so much that, you know, parallel worlds, parallel existences, you know, godlike existences, and this is what came out. Yeah, sometimes I fuck up. I mess up art pieces, Yeah, it's hard to believe. I do mess up an art piece or two, but this one came together pretty well. Yeah, I dig it. It's and I got this art print. I I got this to Derek Riggs of Iron Maiden, and Derek Riggs of Iron Maiden said this was very colorful. He loved it. You know, it's always kind of a childhood dream to come true. You know that you say, hey, well, I'm just gonna send this guy, one or two prints, and he sent me back a piece that I had never seen before. The Golden Rock God. Uh, it kind of looked like an Eric Clapton piece or something. That's what made it cool. And I got them framed. And I was like, well, there goes that money. But they did so well with the frames, and it's two new people. So it's an older guy, a younger girl from Kansas City Art Institute, right? And I believe she's a design major. I hope I don't butcher that, but I'm on. Yeah, yeah, it's a cool art piece. I'm glad Mr. Black framed that for me way long time ago. So when I got them framed, all I did really. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna discount a framing job, and it came out great. I mean, so in these two pieces, they were both gallery pieces, and I told the lady who was running it, I said, you can interchange these however you want, so they can go vertical, right? They can go horizontal. You can switch them, just the opposite way. But that's what's cool about these pieces, is they came together so quickly. It was just cool. I mean, I was taking on subject matters that, normally an artist wouldn't take on. But I guess it's got the comic books element, but I don't know. I tried to stay away from that for a while. So I was in another experimental art phase, and yeah, it's a cool art piece. Well, I've had sketches and things in store that I'm supposed to be working on. I hadn't had as much time as I should be, or as yeah, really, it's just one of those things. I have a certain way, and I have a certain approach to each and every art piece that I do. No matter if it's like a black and white or color or whatever. And that's what makes the art fun. It makes it a challenge sometimes. Yeah. So any other valid points? Well, that's about it on this one. Wanted to make sure I showed it in all of its digital glory. Digital glory. Yeah, I dig this art piece. Yeah. Uh, that's pretty cool. But it's the way art is. Everybody's gonna interpret this thing their own way, and I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. And they might see something subliminally that I was like, well, I just kind of went with it. I said, go for it. And that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. Yeah, it's a cool art piece. All right. I'm gonna click off of this for a little bit, and the next art piece you're gonna see in all of its digital glory will be the Thesis art piece. Yeah. Oh, cool. Cool. Alrighty, folks. Okay, I'm gonna take you into this art piece that I call the Thesis of Indeterminate Disease. It's got a lot of retro things in there. So, you know, like the 19, I dare say it, the early 1970s. There's some 1960s references in there, but you know, the focal point of this entire art piece was the telescope. You know, so it looks like a little child's. Looks like a child's telescope. You know, so it's like old school science class. You know, and what it's about. Well, like the other one that I just described, XIBALBA Unleashed. It's you know, it had to have the red in it. It had to have the blood elements in it. And well, I took this piece and I kind of just modified it a little more from the first art pieces. And yeah, it's a cool art piece. I'm not bragging about my art piece here. It's just, it involved a lot of work, and it had to look a certain way. So you know, so what it is you see those three doctors, but they're like composed of body parts, so to speak, and you know, so this is another one that I did on a DMT trip. You know, you know, that stuff is amazing. You know, I don't encourage nor not encourage people to try it or take it, but gosh, there's so many transcendental things when you take that stuff. And you know, so I was going for a distinct look, but that's what's cool about these art pieces. The one word I use is interchangeable. They're interchangeable. Yeah, I had this caseworker that she hated this art piece. She's like, well, why did you do it this way? And I'm like, well, you know, if you're sick and you get misdiagnosis, you know, then yeah, you know, the drugs, the meds they can give you in hospitals are like, you know, they're just set up a certain way, and so I really took this from, you know, being a hallucination, and that's what it is. It's just an en masse hallucination, and made the solid parts solid, and I just kind of screwed around with the background, but same red as XIBALBA Unleashed. I liked working on this one. The Thesis of an Indeterminate Disease. You know, well, it's one of those things. You know, it's like, and when I was doing it, you know, the Cyclops looking blood cell, I wanted to do that cartoony, so you think like Robert Williams is in terms of composition. Yeah, well, I'm not the biggest I'm not the biggest Fauci fan in the world either. I think he's kind of, well, he is. He's quack. He's one day he's saying, "Oh, you should never take shots. You should never wear a mask," and he flip-flopped it, right? Telling me, "Oh, well, work on the mask, get your shot." That's something really off with this guy. You don't have to agree to disagree, but yeah, I was getting a little sidetracked there, but okay, but back to the telescope, right? So behind the happy blood guy, the blood cell guy, there's an arrow pointing to that inside of where you're supposed to put the glass on that the little pedestal, right? And I guess it took me a while to color this. I was going for grainy in both of these art pieces, and yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got Picasso elements. It's got quirky elements. It's got serious elements, funny elements. Yeah, but that's what this art piece was all about. What I should have done, and I kind of regret it a little bit now, is I didn't put a stethoscope on one of the hallucination doctors, right? And I was like, well, but I put it in future art pieces. I said, I'm gonna do that stethoscope thing, right? And so in Japanese it probably says like blood, or I can't. I had to get those off of like a Google Translate, right? And okay, so when I completed this art piece, it was about late December 2015, and it's got more of a glow with the letters, right? More design elements. I think it's a cool art piece. It's obviously not for hamburger helper lady though. God, she loathed this art piece. She hated it. And I'm like, well, why would you be like that? And, well, typical people, indoctrinated types that they're gonna find something nitpicky to say or not to say, but it's like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, this little art piece has a cult following too. It's yeah, it's pretty cool. I do like that art piece. It has the cubist, the eyeball, chess piece looking thing, and he's kind of off tilted to the side with like, abstract. It looks like cardboard boxes. Well, intentionally I was kind of going for that anyway. I'm pretty sure I was. It's just a different art piece altogether. But that's the thing, and I get locked into these compositions, right? And they have to feel a certain way or look a certain way. People don't, the non-artists, they have no idea you know, how hard it is just to, but you know, legal DMT, I guess. The mind produces DMT. Uh, it does. You know, melatonin, serotonin, you know, all that goody good stuff. And yeah. Yeah, I like that art piece. It's not too bad. So, you know, this is, you know, in the thesis of an indeterminate disease. Slow that down. The thesis of indeterminate disease. This was like the now of bloodletting. The now of bloodletting. Whereas XIBALBA Unleashed is the past of bloodletting. So you think like massacres, right? And yeah, it's cool. You know, art can be anything you really want it to be. You know, yeah, I dig this art piece. It's good stuff. Very good stuff. And I just wanted to get more in depth with what I was going for, from showing the 2 frames of the gallery stuff, the lithographs, you know. But this is like, you know, this is the image you would see on DeviantArt. So I think, and I could be wrong, but I think I went back into the DeviantArt, and what I did was I made a bigger size, right? You know, you can download these things for free via my website, my DeviantArt site, and hopefully I include links below the video. And yeah, it was a fun little art piece. That's another thing about me. I kind of like to turn the art on its head, because well, I did that with Radio Comics and Antarctic Press. You know, those were more like my alternate things that I was doing. Then I came into doing the serial killer art, and I did not want that art piece, or the series of art pieces for Serial Killer magazine. I'm stuttering. Yeah, but those are the ones that people go to the most. Now, I'll probably make a video, hopefully, if I get the time and space, that I do this thing, and it's you know, maybe get into the depths of why I did the serial killer art in such a way that I did. Well, you know, I toss in the satire elements at times, and that's what I'm saying. So it'll probably be another future video that I have yet to tackle. I've had a lot to tackle with recently. Goodness, you know, kidney stones attack, and you know, my left leg went to shits, and I had to go to the hospital and get that fixed. It was spawned by muscle spasms, right? Oh my gosh. And you know, but that would have been my last ER visit. It was 2 days ago, so on 9/25/2021, and when I record this audio for the audio video part of Bookends of Blood, it's 2 days later, so it's 9/27/2021, and yes, this, you know, yeah, yeah, it's a cool art piece. Sometimes I gotta let these art pieces speak for themselves, because you know, what it could have been, or what I was trying for me, might translate differently towards somebody else, and I don't mind that. You know, what do you call it? Ambiguous. I'm just gonna go along with that. Ambiguous. It's pretty ambiguous, and had to have the elements on there. Well, I'm hoping, you know, so I had these two pieces called the Bookends of Blood. There's supposed to be another piece. Actually, it's two art pieces like this, but I found them to be much more of a challenge. You know, much more. I mean, just, you know, and I call it Mickmo the Metalhead. That's what I call it. And, well, I think that is even more precise than, you know, because it's such a strange thing with me. I've been trying to put this stuff together, and it's like, excuse me, I've been trying to put this together, and it's gotta be a certain way. It's like I said, I'm a stickler for the compositions, even if it kind of looks abstract or whatever. I just kind of go for it, and yeah, Mickmo the Metalhead, and hopefully I'm gonna have some video up on it in the future. I have yet to color those art pieces. I completed them as far as the pen and ink, December 2020. You know, getting older, right? Getting older. It's just getting time to put all of this stuff together, and, you know. But of course, a magician doesn't give his secrets, so to speak. He just, you know, I ain't showing anybody anything till I come up with those two art pieces, because I believe I'm gonna be sticking them somehow on a Ruach video. Ruach, yeah, spoken word. But I enjoy this presentation of, you know, why I did certain things the way that I did, and, you know, pulling back away with it. I said, well, it had to look a certain way. Okay, if you look at the three doctors, you know, you can clearly see lettering. I think I might have done that too, where it's like the nose is G, the gritty lips is O, and D on the pale bluish guy. So what does that spell out? It spells out God. Yeah, it's just a subliminal thing I put in there. I tossed it in there. I do that sometimes. I put like little cryptic things in my art, and that's a lot of fun for me. I dig that. So thanks for putting up with my incessant mumblings. Well, whoever's watching this video, yeah, I had a massive kidney stone attack, like a little over 2 weeks from today. Then I was starting to kind of snap up around and snap back into it, and then my leg seized up. I mean, it just seized up. There was no feelings in parts of my left leg. Well, guess what? It was a hard, very, very brutal, yeah, it's just brutal leg aches. I mean, I was trying to get my stuff and, you know, groceries or whatnot, and I couldn't literally sleep, 'cause the pain was so much. So that must be the story of my life now, you know. But the precursor story is these bookends of blood. It's supposed to be like that. And, well, I envision that, you know, with the art book that I really want to do, you know, fine arts book. Because if I approach it like that, they're gonna let me have more freedoms. You know, just like I said, you know, I don't mind having my name connected with comic books. Actually, I just encourage it. But yeah, you can go to hell and back with people, promoters that don't want you around, and, you know, falsehoods and lies that were completely untrue about me. I knew they were just wronging me. You know, I felt pretty wronged. But when I did these art pieces, I felt like I had more. I felt like I had much more creative control, and, you know, it's like I said. Sometimes I do these art pieces, and, you know, I'm so old art school anyway. Old art school. You know, I used to stare at nudes, and when I was going up to the Nelson Art Gallery in KC, Missouri, and I would just absorb this stuff. I would just stare at it. You know, I was in grade school when I saw those nudes, and, you know, and yet my book of life said, you know, I think I was in the 3rd grade when I got that Renaissance art book pulled away from me, and librarian was all pissed off at me, and, you know, forced me to go to the principal's office, because they were saying I was a bad child or what. You know, I went through such a fiasco with that whole thing. You know, I drive by that old grade school in there. I wouldn't even have the decency to use the restroom in that place, much less visit it on the inside. You know, it was torment for me. Oh well. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this thing up. And I'm glad to be doing a video on this too. It's pretty meticulous for me. It might look simple, but, you know, and that's the whole trick. You know, there's a lot of complexity in this, and had to look a certain way. Had to look distinct. Yeah, that's a cool art piece. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 separate elements in it, and I put like a cross in there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, if I can ever tackle Mickmo the Metalhead, man, I'm telling you what, people are just gonna be mind blown with that. And I'm trying, you know. I hate that my life is such a scramble to do everything. And these past 2 weeks, you know, as I go into this audio recording, oh my gosh, I never endured such pain as that. And I've lost like 25 to 30 pounds, right? And it's slow healing, but of course I'm gonna get there, you know. cold sweats that I'd been having, loss of appetite, loss of feelings in my leg, pretty recently. So when I had to go to the ER, I made sure to go at a time when there was nobody out, because it was painful just walking to my car. Normally about takes me 5 to 7 minutes to walk to my car, but I swear it took me 20 to 30 minutes, because I had the cane, and I was saying, okay, Lord, if you just get me through this, if you swigged on some energy drinks. I had one energy shot, like 1/5 of an energy shot. Went back to the hospital that I knew so well. It just sucks in the pandemics, where you want to go to these places that are 24 hours, and they're no longer 24 hours. They're like 14 hours, 16 hours. So yeah, it just sucks. And I just once I think I solve the equations, the abstract equations, preferably of Einstein, because I'm supposed to have like a 175 IQ, believe it or not. I mean, that's pretty large. It's pretty substantial. So I'm supposed to have like an Einstein IQ or a Da Vinci IQ, and they were geniuses. They were geniuses in their respective field. Well, I mean, yeah. Alright. I think I'm just going to end it right there. Thanks for checking out my video. Please up-like this if you can. Up-like it, because it took me a lot of work and effort, but that's the thing with me. I'm always pouring myself into these art pieces, and they have to be a certain way. They have to sing with color, and I can obviously see, stepping back from it again, there are some yellows in it. This plain old yellow, and sometimes that works just great on a composition like this. And yes, so cool. Yes, that other art piece that I got framed by, he's retired now. His name's Mr. Black, and he was a cool guy, but he slipped away into retirement. Well, I don't mind the new framers I work with. They're more expensive, It's one of those things. So maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just do like a half size of whatever 8.5 by 11 is, right? And just go from there. Split them up. Get the same matting for both. The same setup as I had with this Bookends of Blood stuff. And I just put it in there. I just, unconsciously, well, I think that's going to be about it for this video. And, please up-like my stuff. I voted. I'm an alien man, for Pete's sake. I can't believe I'm going to be 50 in maybe 2 years' time from this. That's really hard for me to fathom. That's crazy. I rambled on too much. Well, I really think you think this is an awesome art piece as well. My next goal, Mickmo the Metalhead. That's good. It's a pretty intricate art piece. I think it's more intricate than Bookends of Blood, but well, I guess we'll see. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that, and take a deep breath. And what do I say to you? Shalom. So, thank you very much for checking out my video, and have a good one. See ya.